See here. Hello, hello. How are we doing today? Welcome in, Mandy. Good afternoon. How are we doing?
That came faster than I expected, Amani.
Yes, yes.
Normally, just like inside baseball for everybody. Normally, when we go live, Amani says, I'm going to mute you. And that's basically him saying, Mandy, zip it because you talk too much and you mess up the pre part of the production. And so normally I have about 20 seconds to work on being quiet. And you went right in, Amani. You went right
Yes,
for
we
it. I
we
loved
were doing
it.
some things behind the scenes, so I had to do that. Michael Punchios. Hopefully I said that right. Good afternoon. Good to see you
Hey,
with us. Thank you
Michael.
for
Good to see
joining.
you. Welcome.
Yeah, was doing some things in the background, but we're good. We look good. We feel good, so we're on our way.
We're on our way. Okay, Amani, I have to ask you. I boycotted watching the Browns yesterday because I just did not want to. I didn't want it to take over my day.
Hmm.
But your team, the Washington Commanders, they've
Yes.
been better. What
Hmm.
happened? Did they play yesterday? Are you sad today? Are you happy today? What's the story?
They played Thursday and they did not win on Thursday, so they lost two in a
Oh,
row. So,
sorry.
but they're still doing pretty well. So we'll wait for this week. It's Dallas week this week. So I didn't have any games to watch yesterday either. So I was just kind of doing some things and recording myself reading the book. So I kind of no football that much for me yesterday.
Ooh, that's good. Didn't it feel nice? I think it felt
Yeah.
nice to not be like just a
Yes.
prisoner to my television of
Yes.
watching the football game and then being sad after 2.5 hours of
Exactly.
watching.
Yes, with the stress. Agreed. um so okay, so you didn't do any football watching this weekend. What were some of your highlights?
Well, I'm having an issue right now I wanna talk about. I have a question.
What's your issue? Tell us.
This has nothing to do with my weekend, it's just something I noticed over the weekend. So, I'm having a foot problem. I am realizing all of my shoes are suddenly too big for me. So, do you think when people get in their 40s, do our feet shrink? I know we shrink as humans, but do our feet shrink? Because I went to a bunch of workout classes this weekend and I did some walking and all that stuff and I got blisters because my foot was like rubbing up against it and it got me
Hmm.
thinking, is there like is this something I should be aware of? Is this a phenomenon?
I don't know if your feet shrink. I mean, usually the feet swell up as you get older, so I'm not sure if you're having the opposite effect, but maybe yeah, I don't know. We have to ask WebMD that, but I don't know if you want to believe everything you see on WebMD either. So I don't know if I have
Yeah.
an answer for you.
I know. Okay, so that's been on my mind all weekend long. I tried on all these different shoes, and every single pair of shoes was too big. But it makes me harken back to a couple years ago. I went back to Ohio and I was visiting with all my Ohio girlfriends, which are just gut splitting hilarious. They're practical jokers. They're just the funniest group of girls ever. And one of my girlfriends took a look at my feet and she said, Mandy, your shoes are too big for you. And I was like, I've been wearing a size 7 since I was 12 years old. My shoes are not too big. And then she claimed that I had foot dysmorphia. So we all started laughing. Well, then this year, when we all got together, do you know what she brought? She brought one of those scales. You know, when you go to the shoe store and they put your foot in it and they
Yeah,
measure it?
shoe
She
horn.
brought one
Yeah.
of those.
Oh
Yeah, it's like
wow.
she brought one of those to measure. She's like, "We're gonna settle this once and for all." And
Okay.
when we measured, I measured at a 6.5. And I just thought it was her joke as a shtick, but all weekend long, my feet were in pain. And I was like, I think this is something I need to look into. So that's really what's on my mind today. That's been on my mind all weekend. And
Okay.
you're no help. Amani, you don't have an expertise on this. It's bumming me
Nope,
out.
I'm out of my element that one, so I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to tap out for that one because I don't know. Shoes is what I would say.
I think so. I think I'm gonna have to go to the Good Feet and get measured and do the whole thing. I think that's gonna
Yeah.
be part of my world. What about your weekend? Did your shoes fit all weekend or what did you do?
Shoes fit all weekend. What did I do? I went to this really interesting restaurant on Friday where it was in someone's like the back of their house. It was like a supper club in the back of their house. They had a preset menu, and we
What?
kind of went there, and they had like 5 courses. We were outside, so we are kind of bummed up a little bit, but it was really interesting. And it was like in the back of their house. So I was like, first of all, what's your profit? Like, what's your business model? Second, how do you not get in trouble for your neighbors hosting people all the time? But they do it year round. It was really interesting. It was good food. it was really something different I had never done before. So that was probably the highlight, I would say.
Was it a paid thing? Like, did you go online and buy a ticket? Was there a theme?
Yeah,
Was there
I think
a
the
banjo
website is
player or
called like
anything?
it's called like Graze,
Mm.
Graze, and they have public ones, but then this was a private group of us. It was like a group of friends that all decided to pitch in and pay. So you're all there, you bring your own wine or beer, whatever. You sit down and you just have a meal, and it was really interesting. It was just
Hmm.
interesting. The chef was there, phenomenal female chef, and she cooked up some good things. And yeah,
That sounds fun. I'm gonna check that out. Grace. That sounds
yeah.
interesting.
Alana, I hope I'm saying this right. Is it Alana or Alana? Alana Duggan. Hope I said your last name right. Alana.
Alana. We
Okay,
love
thank you.
Alana.
Yeah.
She's over in Atlanta.
So
Good
she's
to
in
see you.
Atlanta. She says she's a 6.5 in loafers and 7 in sneakers. So,
Well, there we go.
but she
There
says
we
when she
go.
really wants a shoe and it's on sale, she can make the 6.5 work. So I can relate.
Sage wisdom, sage wisdom.
Yes.
Well, speaking
Yes.
of wisdom, I feel like we should get to our super wise guest. What do you
All
think?
right. Take it away. I agree.
All right, we've got a man who knows digital hospitality. He knows digital marketing, especially in the B2B group space for hotels and venues. He's been called a gifted marketer over and over again, not just by one, two, or three people, by many different people. Gifted marketer. He's a partner at Lure Agency. He's the president of HSMAI San Diego and just an overall rad human. He's a dad, a surfer. I heard he's got some sweet 80s dance moves. Let's bring to the stage Corey Falter.
Okay, Corey, here and round of applause for Corey. So hopefully,
How I can't even believe how am I going to follow up with the supper clubs and the shoe fitting and that intro? Holy moly, guys! I don't know what to say. It's I think we're done here. This is good. All good.
Our
we're
work here
just
is
getting
done.
started.
Feel
We're
good.
just getting
I
started.
think it's only going to go downhill from here. So I think we'll wrap this one up already. So no, I'm great.
Take it
Thanks for
away.
having me on, guys. Thank you.
And scene.
Yes, yes. So normally Mandy and I go back and forward like tennis or pickleball. So I'm gonna let Mandy
Mm,
kind of take the lead on the questions, and then I have my list of questions to follow up on. If you're in the chat and you have questions here for Corey or any of us, put them in the chat. I'll read them off. And with that, Mandy, where do we want to start first?
Well, Corey, thanks for being here. It's so good to see you.
you as well.
Yeah,
Even though
and,
we're 5 miles away from each other,
I
right?
know, we should
Mm.
change that. We should see each other in
Isn't that
person. That's our
crazy?
that'll be the next step in our relationship.
I forgot to tell you, my grandparents lived on Jackson Drive, so
Oh,
I'm super yeah. How about that?
that's so close, right up the hill. I love that. It's right up the
All right.
hill. Well, I
Yes,
wanna
yes.
start your partner at Lure Agency, and so I just wanna go straight into agency talk. We'll get to Corey the man in a little bit, but I have some questions about the agency. Your
All
agency
right.
talks a lot. You have some really awesome alliteration in the agency. You talk
Uh-oh.
about science and soul. You talk about relationships and revenue. So I want to ask you, how do you correlate these two, science and soul and relationships and revenue? What do you mean by this?
Hey, I that's a question I didn't prep for. So
Oh,
you caught me good.
surprise.
Uh, First was science and soul. So as you'd mentioned, I am a partner at Lure. Last year, I actually opened the Lure's doors in 2012. Um, but it really didn't find my groove until I brought my partner on, who is the science of the science and soul of this operation. I'm more of the soul, meaning the creativity, more the visionary. And I don't know if we've got some EOS traction fans out there. I don't know if you guys have read that book yet, but it's really the two ingredients that you need to really scale a business. You need a implementer, which is typically a science person, and a innovator who is a creative, and that's where the soul comes into play. So Susan Tucker is my partner, and together I think we really round out a great agency that has both creativity and the data science part of it. So that's where the science and soul comes into place. Relationships and revenue. Well, exactly. This is a great segue of what we're going to talk about today is so much of us talk about the element, and I know you both do because I snooped on your profile, how much you guys both value relationship and building and how that translates into trust. Because if you don't have trust, you have no business, basically. Um, So we are going to underscore the importance of what that trust is and why trust ultimately builds into relationships that ultimately gets that cash register to ring. So hopefully that was I did okay on my interim here.
You crushed
So
it. You crushed it. I have a, so let's back up for a minute.
that's a
What
great
is
start here.
we're off to the races.
All
What
right.
is Lure? Tell everybody what Lure Agency is and how you help people in the hospitality industry.
Well, I'm going to give you a quick 30-second speech. We found our groove really in the B2B space where we felt it's others underserved in hospitality. So we primarily, well, we do service both independent resorts on the hotel side, but also suppliers and vendors on the other side of the fence. We utilize relationship marketing strategies to help build trust and relationships at scale that help drive revenue. So part of that is what we're going to talk about a little bit about today. So we definitely love working on that B2B side of the fence, which is typically a longer sales cycle, and they're higher price sales than the leisure. And I know a lot of people, it's sometimes it's, as being a newbie in the industry, it's hard to decipher the leisure versus group, and you've got F&B and you've got all these different segments. It's kind of it's why we like this industry so much. There's a lot going on. So
Yeah.
Now, what inspired you to really focus on working with hotels originally?
well, I kind of not fell into it, but what my printer, I'm going to date myself here, but back in 1995, a printer that I worked with in La Mesa,
Mm-hmm.
right there by the village, Mandy,
Mm-hmm.
he said, hey, look, there's a hotel down here in San Diego. They're looking for a new graphic designer. I think you should call them. Well, that cold call basically was to what ended up being a VP of marketing at Noble House Resorts, but it's Paradise Point Resort, which we all know and love here in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
That started a relationship that ultimately went on for me working primarily with Noble House. We used to do all of Noble House Hotels creative. And then ultimately in 08, 09, I saw that shift to digital, and we jumped on the whole social media bandwagon and ultimately ended up opening Lure Agency on doing nothing but Facebook engagements for hotels. Because as you can imagine, back in the glory days when Facebook opened, it was like you could literally walk into a hotel and you could see. I've never seen a GM's jaw drop like I would in a presentation to show them what was going on. Even back then, Twitter having a live engagement with guests in their hotel, they had no idea this is going on. It was a glorious time back in those days. So ultimately going from social media and now towards refining our groove on the B2B side of things. So, yeah.
With the evolution of kind of digital media, what are your thoughts on two things? The current state of social media, and number two is the impact that AI is going to have within graphic design and digital media.
Beautiful question. Well, it's funny. I think we've really lost focus of what social media in hospitality is. There's a word social in it. There's a word social in there for a reason. That does not mean acquisition channel. And unfortunately, I still see a lot of hotels trying to force it down that element where it's really meant to bring a voice and build a relationship, as though positioning the hotel on social media as that person. And some people have still not been able to crack the nut on the organic part. But I still go back to places like, and I don't know if you guys have seen Urban Tandoor out of London. If you guys want to see an Instagram channel that's crushing it or organic, these guys don't have a great restaurant. The interior is not all that nice. They don't hardly share their food, but their team is off the charts. They have a line around the building because people want to go in there and see the servers. They put on this funny stick. They sing old 80s music and they put Indian terminology into it. It's absolutely awesome. It's amazing. They are the gold standard of what organic social is all about.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, a lot of us in hospitality have not figured out that's exactly what moves the needle in organic. AI, as much as we've already seen the backlash, right? I don't know about you guys, but I can smell a cold prospecting email a mile away now. we've already rejected that, and it hasn't even been that long, right? And I think a lot of sellers they've gone in on this, they've tried to find this hack, and they're trying to leverage the technology, and ultimately that's not what we want. We want a human one-on-one connection, and again, which underscores the importance of our conversation today. It's not the tools and the hacks and the AI in this. It's this. It's you and I building trust one-on-one, and that relationship that ultimately is going to grow any business. And we need to get back to that core fundamentals of human connectivity that builds trust and ultimately builds that good old word of mouth and referral business. I know you guys, I know you, I've checked out your profile. I know you guys value that tremendously. So forget the AI. I'm not saying there's not a place for it. I use it all the time. In fact, I'm going to pull some stats out of using AI, but we need to use it appropriately, not haphazardly. And I think that's what, as you guys know, in hospitality, we see there's a piece of tech, and I think there's a tremendous urgency to go, oh my God, we're so behind in tech. Let's go all in on this. And then they sacrifice some. Let's get back to responsibility with that. And I think we're not going, AI is here. Believe me, we are not going to ignore it. It's not to be ignored, but we need to use it most appropriately.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny that you say that because I can smell a prospecting email that was generated by AI a million miles away. Unlock, unleash, in the subject line is always like a surefire thing. And then like when the paragraph is a word salad, I'll be like, did you not read this before you said? There's so many words,
Totally.
but I do use it. So I'm glad to hear that you think there's a place for it, whether it's for stats or there's a place for it. It's just not there's not a replacement piece, because I think that's what hotels are doing wrong when they're using it to replace instead of to augment.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now,
especially when it's forward facing, because now I'm sure you were annoyed, right? So now it's made that job, that seller's job, that much more difficult, because you already got your antenna up. It's like, oh my gosh, this person made their job a lot harder. So absolutely.
Agreed. So hello to Mercedes Montijo. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, no,
Mercedes.
Yes. Back to you, Vandy.
Well, I want to ask, since we're kind of talking a little bit about what hotels doing right, doing wrong, what are hotels not doing right now to capture the most meeting and event revenue? Like, what is something that you see hotels doing? You're like, if you would just turn this or do this or just dial it up or down a little bit. What is something they're not doing that if they just did a little bit differently, they would capture more more B2B revenue?
Well, based on our earlier conversation with you both, it's not going to be any surprise where I go with this, but here's what I am going to set this up with. And as I think I mentioned before, as a recovering graphic designer, I always love to bring visuals. So,
okay. So listeners, if you're just listening, and most of you are watching, you're just listening, Corey is holding up a piece of paper with a crying baby, a blonde, beautiful crying baby. And it says, prospecting sucks.
Who can relate?
Then in my 80s flair, we are going to say,
Selling like it's 1999 with a picture of Prince on there too. Well played. Tell us where we're going with this one. Let's go.
Thank you. So, Mandy, just like you had said, a lot of sellers, I think, are missing the boat. And part of that's even the AI, and they default to the classic feature and amenity dumping.
Mm-hmm.
So the feature being on the primarily in the hospitality vendor and supplier side, and amenities being on the property side. Meaning it's all about the sizzle, right? And discounting a lot of other things. And I think I'd mentioned to you before, I did using my AI techniques and do a little search, and realizing that prior to our conversation, I know you can't read this, but it basically says trust is everything, right? And trust is built by people, not by bricks and mortar. Now, this isn't me saying this. This is our lovely Chat GPT saying this, and obviously part of the internet. That's where it learns this, right? So to take that one step further, I even did a prompt and it said, if I was to rank all the important things that prospects look for, and I using this illustration, it is primarily for prospective meeting planners that are looking for a venue for their property, right? As you can see here, out of 11 variables, it picked the expertise of the team as number 2, and only location being number 1. That is staggering to me, because what that underscores is the importance of prospects want you just like as much as you're offering. And right, so it's not just the product or the piece of technology. It's about problem solving and what your insights and what your knowledge and what your expertise can help build, so that you're either looking for a piece of software to solve your problem, or Mandy, in your case, an amazing venue and a team that can execute the most perfect meeting, which includes people, right?
Yeah. The people make the place. Yeah.
Exactly. Yet, if you go to most hotels or resorts, except for HPN, by the way, because you guys do illustrate the culture. In fact, it's up front and center. Most hotels, especially the brands, the team is nowhere to be found. Nowhere. It's just another meeting space with stacked chairs and diagrams and floor plans. Nothing about the team. So that's where I'm setting the stage. That's where I see the big disconnect of what I see is a possible meeting planner for LureCon 25, and what I see as somebody that works in the industry. And that's where I see a huge disconnect, and where I see a lot of hoteliers, the opportunity lies. So I'll stop there before I offer some suggestions to help fix that problem. So what are you guys' thoughts there?
Well, I'm curious to hear the suggestions, because we agree with everything that they're doing wrong. So maybe once we hear some of the suggestions, then I might have some more follow-up questions, because I agree. So now I'm anticipating what the suggestions are.
Yeah.
Ooh, cliffhanger.
I want to hear the suggestions. I'm with you. I've always been a big fan of the people make the place. And let's see, what's the tenure? What's the innovation? Show me a chef in the kitchen. Show me a general manager leading a meeting. I want to understand the culture. Those things to me matter from a buying decision. But it also matters like Lenny, right? If you look at Lenny the doorman at the
Oh,
Omni New York,
I was like, Liddy, who's Liddy?
Lenny's the doorman at the Omni Berkshire in New York City. And Lenny dances and does TikToks outside. When he opens the door for you, he spins. When he grabs your bag, he sings a little song to you. He is a person that makes the place. And that hotel, they got it. What do? They show Lenny every chance they get. And people sometimes go to the Omni New York just to see Lenny. They book their reservation there just for Lenny. Like, when was the last time a hotel had such a strong door person or a valet person or a baggage handler that people are booking a hotel room just for them? So I'm with you on illuminating the people. I think that's really, really important. But I want to hear your suggestions. And just so you know, Corey, we have never had a guest bring visual aids before. This is very fun. I love this. So
I was
keep them
going to say
coming.
the
Hey,
same comment.
This
Yes.
is great.
Yes.
Woo, all right.
Great.
You're looking
Keys
up.
unlocked. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, it's funny you say that, because it's funny that you mentioned Lenny, but what about the thread count? You didn't mention
I
that.
mean, does anybody
Nope.
know what their
Right?
thread count is? Right.
Nope.
Oftentimes the thread count comes before the team, because that's what they think that the prospects want. So we are going to talk about what sellers can do. And again, guys, I'm going to underscore the importance. This is where because I tailored this a little, the conversation to Monty and Mandy, because you guys are on the events and meetings side, but this is equally important for vendors and suppliers. And so first and foremost, no shocker to you guys, is we're going to optimize both The LinkedIn profile and the website. AE, a lot of people are still think of LinkedIn as a glorified job board, and it is far from that. In fact, Mandy, you and I, we have all just recently, never met you guys in person. I said, Monty, appreciate the connection request. We are now connected. The networking on LinkedIn is absolute fire. You don't have to wait for an in-person event, people. It's happening every day over coffee. But here's the big thing is that your LinkedIn profile should be written so it's for your prospects and not about you. No one cares that you went to Stanford or you got 20 years of hospitality experience. They want to know what's in it for me. And selfishly, that's how we are. Number 2, website. I already mentioned this before, guys. Most hotels have no FAQs, no resources, and no team members. So when I go to the meetings, events, pages of the website, it's a glorified RFP catcher. I go there. The website assumes I'm an experienced meeting planner, Mandy, but there's a lot of, I'm sure you've realized there's a lot of prospects planning meetings, especially smaller meetings, up to 75 people that have little to no experience planning a meeting.
Yeah.
Big opportunity being missed. I go to a website, they don't know what an RFP is. They have no idea what attrition is. All these terms, they need a lot of hand holding. So first and foremost is you want to fix the holes in your boat first before you put new passengers on your ship. Make sure you impress every single person that checks out your profile, because they will. They're gonna go look at your profile. In fact, if you do a Google search on your own name, it's going to be 1, 2, or 3 search rankings. And they're going to go check out your property website, find out how competent you guys are. If it's just floor plans and it's obscure menus, and does that instill confidence? So optimization for prospects, step 1. Step 2 is engage with value, right? Not
You're
selling.
speaking my language. You're speaking my
I
language.
know.
Yes.
Woo! So once you've done that, and I suggest, hey, you don't necessarily don't put the stress of posting. Just get comfortable on jumping in somebody else's discussion, start a conversation, build that rapport just like you would in person. Walk up to people, ask them how they're doing, get comfortable with that. And then, my gosh, this is the low-hanging fruit right here. This is crazy. And this is something that we're learning, that most people that have a sales and marketing software or even a CRM, the contacts just sit in there collecting dust, when you could be just sending your contacts just a little tip. Doesn't have to be in fact, suggest not sending some crazy promoted email. Short and sweet. Hey, it's Manny or Damani. I've got a tip that worked for our clients and thought you might like it, and check out this video. Leave it at that. You're top of mind. TOM means top of mind, by the way. But that's how you build it. Sorry. It didn't fit. Obviously, when I ran off my page here. Just keeping them, your prospects are thinking, because you're touching them at least just once a month. Just say, hey, how is it going? Checking in. How are the kids? Whatever. Just showing that you care, you're there, and you're willing to help them. That is in itself. How many times have you guys sent an email and it said, oh my God, I was just thinking of you. I forgot to do this. Or that alone, right here, there's so much low-hanging fruit in your existing contacts. It's crazy. Most hotel sellers aren't doing this, or any of this for that matter.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, and I'm happy to, you bring up a good point about using your CRM to communicate with your contacts. I think sometimes hotels or even just entrepreneurs think, oh, I got to send a monthly newsletter, a quarterly newsletter. Also, I hate the word newsletter. That's just my thing. I'm looking for a new word for the word newsletter. But Hamadi put his head in his hands.
Because I have a newsletter, so
you
go
do,
ahead.
but your newsletter is good. Do you call it a newsletter? I don't think you call it a newsletter.
Not formally, but go on.
No, but what I like about what you're saying, Corey, is it doesn't always have to be a multiple step update on what's going on with the business or the hotel. It can be like, especially if you're sending something to meeting planners, it can be a mass note to everybody in your CRM that's just is like, look at this cool fire and ice event we did
Like,
today, or look at
even
this
a meme.
cool, yeah,
Yep.
or a meme. It could just be one thing that further engages people. Okay, I want to stop right here and ask you a question.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I'm a hotel or a hotel salesperson or somebody working at a hotel, what and I get it. We all know the value of comments, right? And Amani's talked about this before, how the comments are the currency. We get that. If people are daring to do a LinkedIn post, what
Mhm.
could they do? Like, what's a good LinkedIn post? Your writing on your LinkedIn posts are very good, Corey. So if
Oh,
you aren't following Corey Falter, follow him on LinkedIn. You'll get some good tips on how to write a good LinkedIn post. But if somebody hasn't really done a post yet on LinkedIn, it's somebody that works for a hotel or hotel. What can they do? What's a good post they can start with?
beautiful setup. Ironically, I oftentimes it's not what I think, it's what my audience and prospects think,
Mm,
right? So
yeah.
again, I'm gonna show a little bit more about the trust factor. But all you have to do is write down the top 5 things that you've had on a phone conversation. Questions. And oftentimes I think it's an assumption that maybe our audience knows that, but that comment I talked about before, so many people don't know the word. I didn't know what attrition meant. I had no idea. And I think a lot of people that are sellers is picking up the phone and just saying, "Oh my gosh, I just had a novice planner ask me this question about attrition. So I thought I'd explain a little bit more." All you have to do is write down the top 5 questions or objections or questions that your prospects are asking. Those are your posts
Mm,
because that's your
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about what matters to your prospects, not even what matters to you. Because if it mattered to me, I'd be talking about motocross, 80s music, and my family 24/7. But nobody cares about that. They want to know how they can make more money, and so here I am. So I, it's talk about what matters to your prospects and own it. Just start that conversation going. That's it.
mm,
Yeah.
It's really not
good.
that difficult.
Mhm.
So I'm glad you said that because one of the recent projects I've done is I've taken like the top 50 questions that I get from my students or coaching clients about the music business, and I started to record a quick video that answers them. And so just what you
Beautiful.
said about the top questions, simple. What is an advance? What is a DAW? What is a PRO? All these simple questions that people have.
Nice.
So I agree. And you can use Chat GPT to help you come up with the list also, and then put your own ones in there also. So my question
Absolutely.
is, I kind of want to take a little left hand turn from
Ooh,
this. But coming from a former chapter president of MPI Southern California, my question to you is what inspired you to become president of HSMAI, and how has your volunteership benefited you personally and professionally?
And explain what HSMAI is too first,
oh,
if
yeah.
that before we do that, so people that are listening or watching, they may not know what that is.
Yeah, well, HSMEI is the wild and crazy sales and marketing side of hospitality. So it stands for Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International. And it primarily caters on the commercial side of the business, obviously revenue, sales, and marketing. Those three areas of the business, which is really something I'm really obviously very passionate about. And it kind of just fell on my lap. We had a chapter president that had to resign, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, we didn't have a whole lot of people stepping up to play here." And I'm like, "Yeah, shoot, I'll give it a try." But I said, "Hopefully, you guys don't mind. I'm gonna kind of try things a little bit differently, and hopefully we don't get in trouble." And so far, so good. So as we began this conversation, we want to do things a little bit different. As you guys know, you guys are in the event side. Getting people to show up and not necessarily talk to them, they're sitting in chairs. Things have changed. Yeah, and I see you guys nodding. So part of the challenge that we've had is having attendance when it's been just programming and people being talked to. So we tried some different things, and I think it's really beginning to work. And how it's helped me, getting back to you guys, I love to serve. I didn't really think that I'd be in a teacher role. Um, it's become really addicting to me. I love seeing people's light bulb moments go on where it's like, wow, I get it. Corey, thank you. It's like a drug, so to speak. I've really leaned into that. And so it just seems that when I give, and I'm shout out to my really good friend and LinkedIn connection, Don Barnett, gave me Go Giver book. I just finished it. When you put yourself in a position to help others more than self-serving, ultimately opportunities come to you. And it kind of leads into that whole trust thing I was talking about. And so this whole philanthropy and giving back, it does. When you put yourself out there and you lead with wanting to help, it comes back to you in either joy because I love it, or people come in up to me and say, God, I really enjoyed what we're struggling with that same thing. Can you help us, or can you jump on a conversation? And it's been a blessing. It's been amazing. So thank you for that, Amani.
Okay. Yeah. Now we've come to the part of the program where we flip the script and we let you ask both myself and Mandy any question you'd like to ask us. Nothing is off limits. So who do you want to ask a question to first? And what is that question?
Well, since ladies always go first.
Yeah. Amani. Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No one ever claimed. I'm just kidding. Nobody ever claimed that I was a lady, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
You wear it so nicely, Amani. So Mandy,
yes.
More visuals here.
Oh, fun. Okay.
Right. So
wow.
I know. So I'm trying to get this all dialed in here. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit wonky here. So
he's holding up my profile, my LinkedIn profile page.
Great
with a
photo.
question.
Great photo with your book, by the way. I love that photo.
Thank you.
Yeah. And by the way, I added as I was in the research here, HPN, which I love the team page on that's an awesome page, by the way. So the question is, how important is trust to you as business owner and a consumer? Mandy.
Trust is everything. I mean, I believe that they don't buy from people they like. People buy from people they trust. I really believe that. And now he's holding up another one. Sales is a lot easier and funner when prospects already know who you are. Exactly. People buy from people they trust. Exactly. Yeah. They do business with people they trust. I'm with you on that. And I believe trust isn't established overnight, right? Mm-hmm. You don't go on a first call with somebody and ask for the business immediately. That's so cringy. And you have to be committed to establishing trust, to building that relationship. And that trust starts today, and it may not happen for 5, 10, 15 years. But when it happens, you'll know that you've been planting seeds over time, that you're building a solid foundation for trust. So as a buyer, I believe in trust. As a sales coach, as an author, as everything I do in life, I think trust is everything. And I also think with trust, especially in the hotel business, this is a 24-hour operation. Stuff's going to go sideways. There's no doubt about it. It is. And if you are working with partners that you trust, that when things go sideways, they're going to do the right thing, or they're going to, monitor your reaction to it. You're going to work together in a better way. That thing that goes sideways will help you build deeper relationships, where a lot of times if there is no trust, then something goes sideways, then it becomes adversarial, and then things get real weird real fast. And so I think you can't build trust because you want something. You just have to really plant those seeds and drop those breadcrumbs and really build trust over a long period of time. So that's a great question, Corey. Thanks for asking.
You underscored my first slide, by the way. You said trust is everything. But trust can't be built with brick and mortar alone, mm-hmm. Right?
Trust. Right?
Yet hospitality is doing that, trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Amani.
Yeah.
No surprise, because you have a very similar approach to business as well. I could see you. I went to your website. Mm-hmm. You've got tons of social proof on there. That's another question I meant to ask you guys, is why aren't we seeing more video testimonials and social proof on the meetings and events pages of our hotel websites? But that's beside the point. Amani, How important is trust to you as a business owner and consumer?
Well, if I wanted to, I could be an echo to Mandy because what she said is right. I'll just add to this that in life and in business, you want to feel safe when you're working with your clients. And you cannot feel safe if you don't have trust. So trust is so important because once you're in a safe place, you can have honest conversations. You don't have to worry about like offending someone. So if you can have trust, you can have safety, and that's how a relationship can really grow, business or personal.
Beautiful.
Corey, can I build on your question? I have a question for Amani. Can we do that?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever done that before.
Oh man.
Amani, yeah, because you do so much. Corey, you've inspired this question. So Amani, you do so much with the music business, and that's an industry that can feel kind of slimy sometimes, or can feel a little nerve wracking. So, as a music business coach in that industry, my guess is that you have to try harder to build trust, to get people
Mm.
to believe that you can help them. Like, how are you building trust for your music business coaches? I don't know if
Yes,
that makes
fine.
sense,
Yeah.
but I just
Good
Students.
had that
question.
light bulb. Yeah.
Music business
Yeah.
students, I would say it just takes time. Like you have to really share your knowledge for free. You have to like follow up, give honest advice, don't really expect anything, and just be consistent, and be consistent with your advice, with your messaging, and slowly but surely you'll build trust because as you said, like in the music industry, it is not a trustworthy industry. People are trying to take advantage of artists, both young artists and experienced artists get taken advantage of too. So trust is like not even present. So it really takes time and sharing and just being open and honest and vulnerable. And then you can't rush it. It's like you put a pie in the oven. It's going to take 3 hours to cook. You can't take it out after 30 minutes and expect it to be done. It will spoil. It won't work. So that's similar to how I view trust specifically in the music industry. It's an issue.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So those are great questions. I do want
Great
to
questions.
compliment you on just the visuals. This. Hopefully, our future guests will take note and bring something like that because it's been very, very impactful. I love it.
I love the
Oh,
visual
nice.
aids.
Thank
Yes,
you.
It's
yes,
fun.
I wasn't
yeah.
Yeah.
sure if I was breaking any rules or anything, so I
No, we
appreciate.
we break the rules all the time. But
We
what I
have no
want to do
Love
rules. We
is
don't
I
know
want
what
to
the rules are.
take you back to the day after you graduated from San Diego State,
it.
and I want you to. What advice would you give your younger self based on your entire career and what experience that you've had, personally and professionally? What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh wow! You guys don't believe how timely this question is because I'm going to SDSU tomorrow for their career
Yeah,
meetings and events. I don't know if you guys even heard that's happening tomorrow. But my twin daughters are freshmen at SDSU.
nice.
They are they just got it. Were accepted in their sororities. And it's going to be no surprise that I'm going to say relationships. I would have spent more time. I probably wish I would have gone in a fraternity. Relationships are everything. Even now more so because Monty, you just mentioned it, the business that you had to overcome, and it's everything. And sometimes it can overcome deficiencies that you had. It's like it gets back that old adage. It's not what you know, it's who you know. It's so true. If you can make the right connections and you can build the right relationships, you can overcome anything. It's crazy. I'd say I'd spend 80% of my time building relationships and 20% of my coursework because it was kind of, it's I feel that strongly about human to human connection. It is invaluable. It's golden, platinum level business.
Love it. Great answer. Mandy, I'll let you kind of take it home from here. We're in the home stretch.
Well, I have two final questions. So one, Corey, you have worked with some really legendary hotel companies from Benchmark to the Inn at Rancho Santa Fe to Noble House. What story do you have that's out there that you're really proud of, where a hotel was doing one thing and with your guidance, you steered them towards another thing?
Wow, another crazy timing on this because I just found out that an iconic property that we probably did our most high level creative work. In fact, Amy Mata, who now is a movie star, was in our campaign way back in '08, and it was the worst time to open a hotel, as you guys probably can imagine.
Yeah.
But this is the Riviera Resort in Palm Springs is now back to the Riviera Resort, which was Margaritaville. I just literally found out about this last week. We had the most iconic campaign there. We had a full-on Hollywood casting call. It was off the charts. It was literally the most high-level campaign that we ever did. I still remember to this day, because when we went to the when it was boarded up and they were going to relaunch it, I literally had a box of old black and whites with the Rat Pack and Elvis and legendary icons of them in the lobby of this hotel writing music. You could not buy that type of culture, integrity, or storytelling today. That was just an iconic part of my time back when I was doing more. I was an art director before I got onto the digital side of things. So unfortunately, now we've gone away from most hotels that you go to, and you don't see a story anymore. Like you were telling about the Bellman and Landing. I don't know if that's on their website. They might be on a social. But if I could advise us in hospitality, is go back to that creativity. What is the differentiator? If I go to the hotels, even a lot of them are in San Diego, they're beautiful hotels. Don't get me wrong, but there's no story. What differentiates XYZ hotel from the others when they're all nice looking? And I think we've lost that creative spark, which makes it interesting us as humans. So I'd advise somebody that's gone all in on the clicks and the attribution and what drives the revenue, and go back to what the core value is, what makes somebody feel special, and that inner emotional connection to a property. Because once you've got somebody's heart, their wallet is going to follow them. Right? Once you call that place, like the Cheers, you guys remember Cheers, right? When Norm came up the street,
knows your name.
Hey, Norm! Everybody knows his name. That's his bar. Just like the resort. If you can make somebody feel special and it's their place, game over. And I think that as a lot of leaders in the industry maybe have forgotten what that means, to make someone feel special, because it's not hard to do anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, everybody's looking at the P&Ls and the profit margins and staffing and RevPAR and star reports, and all of those things are very important, right? You need metrics, you need to measure, but the thing that is equally important is the story. It reminds me of when we opened the Hard Rock Hotel in San Diego, and everybody wanted to talk about the music of it, and our sales team was really focused on the building, like the location of the building, the historical value of that building, because we were selling basically a construction project at the time. And we sold the story of the building. Like we sold the story that it's like, that's where the railroad, where the railroad tracks used to be. And that area is all built on, built on water now, and we shared the story of the physical building, and that actually got people interested to come see it. And then we talked about, Hard Rock and the brand and the memorabilia and all that other stuff. So, and I think on site inspections, you're sort of helping me remember on site inspections, when salespeople do their homework and they tell you a story about the building, you do become more attached to it. Yeah, it's not just from a website. It's like site inspection. You're physically in that building. I think Gaylord Texan does a good job at telling that story. Estancia La Jolla does a good job of telling the story, but the building and the people, the building and the people telling the history about it too, and where it's come from. So I appreciate you bringing that out. That's awesome. Okay, last question for me, and then Amani, take it away. How can we support you, Corey? You've spent some time with us. You've given us a lot to think about. How can we support you with HSMAI or with Lure Agency? How can we lift you up right now with what you're doing?
Well, I mean, conversely, I appreciate you guys inviting me on. This has been amazing. I love the conversation. I feel very fortunate that you guys have very honored that you've given me a platform to talk some nonsense here. So, no, I love this. We are. I'd love to have more people come down to our HSMI San Diego events. I think anybody in hospitality, even in SoCal, we've had some other people from Orange County come down, hang out with us, rub some elbows. Let's make some new connections. And then we are going to be hosting some cohorts. So we have some, traditionally at Lure, it's been a concierge level where it's been kind of a done for you model where we're going to continue that, but we're also going to, with the tools and things that we've really put together a nice formula for these cohorts. So we're going to be hosting a month-long cohorts that are in snackable weekly 4-week segments of steps that we talk about our win strategy. And it's everything from the website, things that we talked about all the way through to social selling, and how to engage with people on LinkedIn, build relationships. So if anybody wants to, come learn more about that, we're going to have a landing page up on the website. And then I'd love to have everybody who wants to meet some new people on LinkedIn. It's been a fabulous place to meet new people.
Love
So
it.
thank you for that.
Of course. Well, we got your LinkedIn link in the ticker so people can see that. I put it also in the chat so people can follow you. And just first of all, thank you for bringing visuals, bringing some great energy and ideas, and just
Thank
engaging
you.
with us. It was really, really a fun show, and I learned and just appreciate your presence. So thank you, and thank you for being of service also, because that's not very common. So we appreciate you.
Oh, thanks, guys. This has been
Yeah.
fantastic. Again, appreciate the great conversation. Hopefully we can do it again. Have you guys on my show. I got a Ding Sing show. So hopefully we can have you guys on. That'd be awesome.
All
We'd love to
right.
be on your show. That's something Amani and I were just talking about. We go on so many shows separately. We don't
Yeah.
go on any together. So we'd
Together.
love if
We can do
you're
Nice.
looking for a 2-pack, we'd love to join
Yeah.
your show. It'd be fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would love
So
to.
we're gonna
Let's
put you back in the green room, and we'll converse with you in a minute, and we'll close out the show. So round of applause really quickly for Corey Falter right here. So there we go.
Thank you, Corey.
guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, Mandy, another good show. Now we're heading towards Thanksgiving week. Who do we have next week?
We have two really awesome humans, Mandy Graziano and Amani Roberts.
Yes. Yes.
We're doing an Ask Us Anything next week.
Yes.
We haven't done one in a while.
Mhm.
So bring your questions. Literally ask us anything for the full hour of the show. Ask us in advance, slide into our DMs, or show up on the day of the show and drop some nuggets in the chat, and we will answer anything you
Awesome.
want.
Cool. Well, thanks again to our guest, Corey, for being with us. Make sure you follow him, engage. And with that, get your questions ready, get your popcorn ready, and we will see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. on the West Coast. Take care, everyone.
Bye. See you next week. Thank you.